Hello. It is the fourth and final day of a solo trip for me. And I brought my microphone because in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not intending on filming a big deal sit down video. Most of you know when I vlog, I usually don't use a microphone. It's very casual. But something in the back of my head said, maybe there will be something that will be revealed to me that I want to say. And just now, when I was downstairs reading my book by the fireplace, yes, in July, if you've ever been to Wilderness Lodge, you get it. I can't explain it. It's a vibe like none other, but that's not what this video is about. This video idea came to me literally like a bolt out of the blue, and like a bolt out of the blue, sorry. And yeah, I wanted to talk about it. So here's the truth about solo travel. And I'm hoping, as I'm putting myself out there, that I am not the only one that has had this experience. So first of all, if you've never done solo travel, this is something that I think you can expect, especially the first few times you do it. And if you're me, every time you do it. And it happened again this trip. And I think it's so important that we name it and recognize it and don't look at it as a sign that you shouldn't be traveling solo. In fact, I think it's the opposite of that. So there is always a moment when I'm on a solo trip, whether it's a short trip like this one or a long trip to Europe like I've done before. I've done 10-day trips, 12-day trips on my own, where I am incredibly homesick and I feel like the trip was a terrible idea. This trip, it hit me the night of day 2. And day 1, I got here and I was so completely exhausted and burnt out. And I literally took 2 naps on the second day. My adrenaline was up here just from some things that were happening at home. It doesn't matter if this video isn't about that, and you might be brand new to my channel, so you have no idea what is going on with me at home. But I needed to come down off of the adrenaline. And then I got incredibly homesick. I missed my husband. I missed my dogs. I'm at Walt Disney World, where I spent countless vacations with my kids when they were growing up. I missed my kids. And I just had this like longing sense of, I want to go home. Like, I think I might just pack it all up and go home. Now, it didn't help that I was at Magic Kingdom, which I have a ton of memories with my kids there, obviously. Also, it was super hot and humid, and it wasn't pleasant to be there. But I was like, this whole trip was a mistake. And in the back of my mind, I remembered that I always feel that way at some point in a solo trip. What you have to do is push through that moment. And I knew intellectually that if I pushed through that moment, that this trip could turn into what I needed it to be, which was a time to truly work on my own, self-actualization, my own individuality, remembering who I am apart from my husband, my friends, my family, even my dogs, and to really get down to what are the things that I love doing. Where am I disconnected from myself in my thought processes? Because it's really hard, right, to live day in and day out in a chaotic world, no matter what you have going on, and to not constantly be pulled in the direction that everybody else wants to pull you. And if you came out of a childhood where maybe you're like me, maybe you were parentified, maybe you grew up in a trauma situation, maybe you have complex PTSD, one of the things from a very young age that I was taught is that what I want and my needs are actually always to take a second seat to the main person in the family, that I literally existed in order to care for others, and that any emotions I should feel, any wants that I had, always had to take a back seat. And it turned something that could be a good thing, right? Teaching selflessness and teaching people not to be selfish, into me not even knowing who I was apart from these people in my family of origin. And you can talk to like Carl Jung, is it Jung or Jung? I don't even know how to pronounce it, but psychologists that talk a lot about that, about, differentiating yourself from the people around you. You'll hear it talked about if you read like Melanie Beattie's book about codependency. It's the same sort of concept, that the whole thing that I'm only okay if the people around me are okay. And when that's your muscle memory and that's what you are raised with, I think solo travel becomes even more vital to us becoming who we are meant to be. Because when you're surrounded by all of the noise and all of the caregiving, it can be really easy to just lose yourself in that. In fact, it can be almost easier because the other people around you are always telling you what the next thing is, how you're supposed to feel, what you're supposed to do, where your time is supposed to be spent. And the realization that I spend the majority of my time being concerned that I'm wasting my time because I'm supposed to be doing something for other people means that getting away from everything is how I'm able to center myself and remember who it is that I really am, what it is that I really want, what I want to spend my time on moving forward. I don't think that makes me a worse wife or a worse mom to my grown kids or a worse daughter to my mom who has dementia or a worse dog parent. I actually think it makes me better at all of those things because I can look inside and that voice of what is true and authentic to me is clear because I have spent time with her. So I feel like that moment when I'm really, really homesick, and I'm not a psychiatrist, I go to a wonderful therapist and she helps me with a lot. But what I think that moment is me kind of separating myself from those voices. And keep in mind, it's me that puts myself in the position. Those voices are not demanding that of me. I make those choices. But that moment of like really extreme homesickness and this was a mistake is because I have gotten into this pattern of only looking at what everyone else needs and not what I need. And I got to wrestle with that and I have to push through it and it has to feel hard and it has to feel a little lonely. But here's what happens, at least in my experience. If I push through that loneliness and I push through to getting to solitude, which is different than isolation, right? It feels like isolation for a second, but I was like, girl, get a good night's sleep, do some journaling in the morning, see how you feel. I did that. I got a good night's sleep. I woke up. I did my morning pages. I started writing out what that tension was. And when I got to the other side of it, all of a sudden this trip felt so vitally important to my well-being and to my centeredness. What these times away allow me to do is push away everybody else's vision of me and reminds me of who I am at my core, at my center. What do I want? What lights me up? What makes me happy? This morning, I floated in the pool. I'm sure that the other people at the pool thought I was crazy. I'm really good at floating, by the way. Thanks. My dad taught me how to do it, and I rock floating, which is a great skill to teach your kids. When I was at Kidani Village the first night, there was a dad teaching his girls how to float. I'm like, what a great life skill, because it can literally save your life if you're drowning, but I digress. I put my head underwater. I got my head wet. I wasn't wearing any makeup. I've eaten whatever I wanted. I had a meal last night with a really good friend. I met another good friend for lunch today. And people that I value, but also not people that I'm responsible for. I have been free from all of that for the last few days. I've had some amazing insights as a result, some creative insights, some insights about my business. I've met a lot of viewers who, as they've said hello, I've been able to ask them, hey, I'm kind of struggling with this while I'm down here. Can you help me answer this question? And today, I think her daughter's name was Leslie, and I'm so sorry, I forgot the mom's name, but they were the sweetest women. And I asked them that question. I was like, I'm kind of struggling. Do I need to change my content and what I'm making things about? Because I feel like I don't really have a lane, and this is all work related, right? And she was like, don't change the thing. Continue to make content that is about all the things that humans are dealing with right now. And something about the way she said it really landed with me, and I had such a strong revelation about what's supposed to happen next. And I've been working through all of this in my journal, and just the fact that there's been no interruptions. I cannot tell you what my creative brain, how my creative brain lights up like a Christmas tree when there are no interruptions. And that's something I'm really determined I need to fight for. Again, if I were to say to all the people around me, like, I have the power to do this, right? I can put on Do Not Disturb on my phone. I can go in a room in my own home and shut the door. And even from the dogs, and even like all of these good people and good animals and good situations and my work and all of the things, I am choosing to not get that alone time when I'm at home. I absolutely can recreate this. This is a little dramatic. Can everybody, jaunt off to Walt Disney World for 4 nights? No, there were many, many years that I couldn't do that, but I could take an afternoon. I could do what she talks about in The Artist's Way. I could take a date day just for myself. And I need to incorporate that back into my life because it really is such a quality of life thing. This isn't like some, big luxury thing to be able to do, although I am staying in a very bougie place. I'm not going to lie. I'm extremely blessed that this is where I can be. But it could just as easily be, a walk at a lake by your house. I do think it needs to be for an extended period of time and overnight if you can get away with it, because I think you do need to push past that feeling of loneliness and isolation and then get really comfortable with your own company. But I know there are a lot of you that are hesitant to travel alone. You've reached out to me. You've said you're kind of trying to muster the courage to do it. And so I wanted to make this video, number one, to encourage you to take the time to muster the strength to schedule the trip alone, because it will change your life. It has changed my life. When 9 years ago, when I first started my other YouTube channel, when I left for Paris by myself and I brought you guys with me in a video, that moment changed my life. And I had traveled by myself prior to that. I'd never done anything as ambitious as going to Paris, but it changed my confidence in what I was capable of. It changed the dynamics of my relationships in the most positive ways. And it just allowed me to remember who I am at my core, which I didn't really have the opportunity to develop when I was a child because of a variety of different circumstances, but I'm going to develop now. So if you're thinking of solo travel, number one, book the trip. A place that you're already familiar with, I think, is a great call because you don't have to worry about logistics and things like that. That's what Walt Disney World does for me. I can really be relaxed and not be stressed out about where I'm supposed to be and safety and where am I going to eat and all that. All those things are right in front of me, so it makes it super easy. And then secondly, when you start the trip, and you might feel it before a little bit too, and you feel that tension of like, scariness and isolation and homesickness, and I don't want to leave what's familiar. If you push past that, on the other side of that are lessons that will absolutely change your life. So I hope this has been helpful and encouraging. Tomorrow I have to go home. I might even quickly edit this and put it up on Sunday. This trip has been some of the best time I've had in terms of really helping my subconscious come to the front and tell me what it is that I really want for the next however many years of my life. And it's something that I will continue to do. I will continue to fight for. I will never apologize for. My husband also does solo travel. He does the same thing. He doesn't exactly do it the same way I do it because we're very different people, but we both really feel the pull sometimes of being alone and how important that is to our heart, to our soul, to our creative mind, to our work, to our relationships, all of the things. Okay, whatever you're doing today, I hope you're finding joy. Thank you for joining me in my little cozy room at Wilderness Lodge, and I will see you in the next video.